Got it. Okay, there we go. We are live on there. Let me go ahead and share this. Okay, good. I got it. A notification that we are live. So I always like this time to just kind of let ladies join. So I'll post a link in here. Okay, I am very sorry. I'm like sucking on cough drops and trying to guzzle water because I have a really bad cold. So I'm glad I have a guest on. So I'll let you do most of the talking because I got back from Florida and I think the season's changing. My allergies are going crazy. And
well, don't forget you have a different atmosphere where you live compared to Florida. I did that one time.
Yeah. And it's like it messes your whole, I don't know, sinuses and everything up. Okay, so that is up. Hey, Jen Bay is there. Nice to see you. Okay, so yes, let's get into it. I'm going to pull up my outline here. Forgot to print it off.
No, I printed mine. So if we need to go over it, just let me know. Okay.
All right. So I'm glad that you guys could join me today. Hey, Day, she's on there. Now, also make sure that you're, putting questions down and I'll just throw them out there. Jenny can answer them. I'll answer them if I know, but remember, I've only been doing this a year. So I kind of learned as I went with this stuff. But anyways, let me introduce my guest. I know many of you know her. She's been in the chat all the time. She is now. Do you have YouTube paused on your computer? Is YouTube up on your computer at all?
YouTube is on my phone on mute.
Okay.
So I can be in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, that shouldn't be interfering with it all. Sometimes I still hear an echo, but I think it'll be fine once we start talking. Hey, Sarah. So yes, Jenny Wright's been around a while. Go ahead and introduce yourself and a little bit about you and your family and your experience when it comes to the subject.
So I am a stay-at-home mom and I homeschool my two oldest. I have 4 children, been married since 2011. We just celebrated our 12-year wedding anniversary on the 16th. So I have Lily, she's 9, Seth, he's 6, Jude, he's 3, and Phoebe just turned 2. And we currently live in South Carolina, but we used to live in Michigan and we moved here in 2019. And I primarily did most of my chicken and duck stuff in Michigan, and I miss it dearly. So to be able to talk about this is like one of my passions.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know you were really interested in this subject. Julia is in the chat. She's my chicken lady here at the church. She's the one that kind of got me into it. And then she could have been on here to offer a wealth of information too. So, but she's been on the show before. And hey, Joyce, how are you? So yeah, we're going to get into this topic. I never thought I would be the crazy chicken lady, but here we are. I am the crazy chicken lady. I have discovered a love for these wonderful little creatures. And I just think everyone should own chickens. So with the price of eggs, everyone is looking into chickens. And as you know, it was really hard for me this year to get my hands on chicks because they're selling out. Did you have that problem?
No,
you're not buying them. Yeah, you're not buying them. So you never had that problem. But right now, this year, we're having this problem with buying chickens. I had to go to several stores before I was able to find them. And this is my first year branching out into different breeds. When I started last year, I didn't even know about all the different breeds of chickens. I didn't know anything. We literally walked, my oldest son and I, we walked into Farm and Fleet and they had chicks. And he said, Mom, I'm buying you chickens. And I said, okay, and knew nothing about starting. So we're going to kind of share a little bit of that journey. But what got you into this? So you did this in Michigan, which also has frigid temps in the winter. So you're well accustomed to dealing with birds in the winter and all that. So what got you into it and how long did you do it when you had chickens and ducks?
So I'll give a little bit of a backstory. We purchased a really awesome house July 17th, 2018. It was 12.26 acres, just a little house, just perfect for us, but it was really long and rectangular land. And we actually decided, like, when we got this property, our intention was to make a farm. We wanted to live off the land, be kind of off the grid. It was off the highway, and it was just amazing because, I mean, obviously you have the traffic, but there was nobody, near us besides our next door neighbor. Like, there was one on each side. And July 24th, we decided randomly to go to Tractor Supply, and we got chickens and ducks, and I believe we got 22 chickens, which I didn't think I would ever get that many at one
You
time.
started out big.
Yeah. And then I had 4 Pekin ducks, and I believe I had 3 different breeds. I had Issa Brown, Barred Rock, and I think Silver Laced Wyandotte or regular Wyandotte, one of the two. It was a Wyandotte.
Okay. I mainly had Rhode Island Reds when I started. I literally told the guy, hey, just put 10 in a box, and oh, these ones are half off. Put those in there. And so I did end up with Rhode Island Reds and Americana. I believe a Wyandotte, I think is what it's called. I'm not sure, but my favorite one is actually my Americana because she kind of started out a little punky. We called her Punk Snow White because she's white. But now that she started laying eggs, and she lays really beautiful blue, like bluish green eggs. Now that she started laying eggs, she's super docile, and she will come running when she sees us, and she'll let us pet her. She wants to be petted now. So that's another thing most people don't realize is that chickens, they recognize you. And especially if you bring them out treats, they're like they're just little pets. They're so cute when they come running up to you. So do you have any pictures of what you started out with? Because I know we're going to go into like, what do you need to start? A lot of women are wondering that, like, how much do I need to spend? I will say, because my son bought our coop when we first started, we spent about $500 for everything. The coop was $350, and it's a teeny tiny little coop. And I'm just going to show you guys my coop. Let me get over here. I'll actually share my screen and show you the pictures that I have when we first started out a year ago. So I'm actually going to show you, this was the coop that we got. And this little thing, it doesn't seem like it would be that much, but it was $350. That's my coop. That's now. But yeah, when we first started out, this was it. And that's just a Farm and Fleet coop. And these were the chicks I started out with. See, they had the green dots because they were, half off. And then
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah. And it took forever until they got their feathers in for that to even disappear. So, but yeah, you can kind of tell some of the reasons just by looking. This was the inside of it. It had a removable tray. I will say for $350, this did not hold up very well. When we ended up building our larger coop, we put this in there so they can have the nesting boxes, and they still use it to lay their eggs in every day. But it almost fell apart just from moving it one time. So that's the girls the night that Tommy put it together. But now we have a much better setup. We had an old barn, and let me show you the before pictures. So this is our old barn. We cleared out this whole section right here. It already had kind of a frame. And so I had a guy in our church, Aaron, who I had this crazy idea. I was talking to him. I knew not to ask my husband because my husband's too busy and this wasn't his forte. And I want you to show me all the pictures of yours that you built. But yeah, we already had the barn. So Aaron decided to come up with the frame. So we framed all of it in with 2x4s. You can kind of see the frame here. And at first, I don't know what we had decided we were going to do, if we were going to do plywood. I don't know, but I decided on hardware cloth. You kind of want to go where you are with predators. We have a lot of predators. We're in the country. You want hardware cloth.
Yeah.
And so we went with hardware cloth, and that was the most expensive. But I'm going to say Jason actually paid for all of this. And I'm going to say we spent $500 on the whole thing, which
that's not bad.
I wish I would have just done that from the beginning rather than a little coop, because it turned out so nice. And here it is. Yeah.
You did a good job.
It's huge. A predator has never gotten in, partly because my cement floor, it is a cement floor. And then it has the back walls. And when we put plywood, we used a lot of old plywood for that we already had. We bought a couple sheets and we covered the top too. So it's all enclosed. with wood and then concrete on the bottom. We've never had a predator get in yet. So this green thing came in handy because I have my chicks in it right now. And I have it gated off so my other hens can become used to them. So anyways, that's that. And I want to see yours. And there can be all kind of different setups. And we're going to talk about that, all the different kind of setups you can have.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and get yours up whenever you want.
Okay.
Least Wyandotte.
All right. So I made a gallery. Can you
Nice.
see that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is the day that we got them, and I did it I galvanized. It's like the waterer for horses.
Yes.
And the reason why I did that is because eventually I wanted to get cows and horses, but that never happened. So I thought you might as well buy that. And then here's the little duckies. And we got them. And one thing that I do want to note is you see the green container. I have learned that that is not a good one because all of the pine shavings and everything like get stuck in there. So I found a new technique, which I will like talk about that in a minute. I just want to go through the photos. I do like the steel one for the feed because then, you know, it doesn't get all gross and gooky with the plastic.
Yeah.
And I suggest not doing the plastic container for the feed and maybe doing like a mason jar because then you can clean it and it doesn't get stinky as fast. You know, it's cleaner.
Yes. Plastic gets very stinky from these animals.
Yeah.
Very much so.
So for the ducks, I just found this one. They just got it. And what it does is it enables them to get their duck bill inside to be able to drink, but not make as much of a mess like the ones at Tractor Supply. This can be purchased at Tractor Supply. But somebody just told me in one of my duck groups that I'm in, and they said that you should definitely get this one because they do make a mess with the water, but this will kind of help contain it.
I'm getting that. Mine are.
Here's our babies.
Oh,
these are the pekin ones, and it was funny when Lily was younger, she decided she wanted to put them in her Hello Kitty cart, and so we put grass on the inside so that way they wouldn't fall through. But yeah, they are so cute. And then these are the quails that I hatched when we were in Michigan. We had 12 fertilized eggs and we hatched them, so that was pretty cool. They're a lot different and a lot tougher to deal with survival rate. So,
well, I've had zero survival rate with my incubation, so I know when to talk.
This was one of my kind of like a photo that I found on Pinterest that I really liked, because if somebody wants to go and just make it themselves, they can do like, you know, kind of halfway, not really free range, but at least be able to keep the predators from coming in. And one tip is to have the hardwire cloth go right here. I'll put the arrow right here, at least 6 to 8 inches in the ground and going across. And then over here as well, and on the other side. But I thought this was a really cool idea if you want to go unconventional and you have like salvageable pieces of wood and plywood. We worked with a lot of plywood, which I'll show. Yeah. This was our first chicken tractor. So you can do chicken tractors. You just got to make sure that you have good hardwire cloth, which I did 1/4 of an inch. And then as you see, they transitioned from this, which was like my brooder. And then eventually I put like hardwire cloth on top so they didn't fly out. And then I liked this waterer. It's just like the galvanized steel here, the tub. And then we built this from scratch. So we just used whatever wood. Back then, though, this was 2018. So wood's gone up a lot in price. Yes, but we were able to just kind of use whatever we had. And then I bought the tarps. You buy them from Walmart. Tarps are amazing for the winter as well. And then I bought also painter, like the painter mill. It's like, I think 0.6 mil. But it's basically the stuff that you cover your furniture with. And that's another way to make like a greenhouse effect.
I noticed you have like a pallet in the back too. Is one side with the pallet?
Yeah, so if you don't have enough wood, that's what I do too, is my actual coop was built mostly with pallets, but you want to get the proper one. I didn't realize that there's different grades of pallets. So you don't want to get one that the chickens and ducks could get sick from. It'll say like the grade on each, like on one side of the pallet, I guess. But I just got whatever was free on Facebook Marketplace. That's the best place to go to get free pallets, honestly.
Awesome idea. I love that this is all done with stuff that you had around. I love that.
Yeah. So our ducks started out with this, which was hilarious because it's a dog igloo. And then we contained them in this chicken wire. And I discovered chicken wire is not something you want to work with because predators can come in.
Oh, yeah.
But we basically got pieces of wood made like a giant square and contained them in there, and they did pretty good. But then we upgraded them to this, which is almost all plywood, and it actually helped them get through the winter when they were really young, and where I didn't want them inside the house because they're, they have all that dust. And so I put them in here. Yeah. And then another trick is if you want them to go outside, but you want to contain them, I had this baby octagon gate thing, and I had the chicks go in there, and I'd put like pieces of branches and stuff like that. This was Seth when he was younger. He was so little. Okay, so this is like up close. We had the latch right there. Aaron built this, and the reason why we had this like this, so that way there could be a ventilation system right here. So it automatically is set on the side. There's the door. So this is where I would access like the ducks from easier because I could be able to somewhat get in there.
Right.
There's the kids with the ducks.
Aw.
And I did pine shavings in the beginning, and Aaron wanted me to note that we did end up using hay in the coop because we realized we did the deep litter method, and in order to do that, it's better to just keep layering it, and it costs a lot more with pine shavings, and it gets dirtier easily. So we ended up just getting bales of hay and just layering it that way after we got a whole bunch of layers of pine shavings. So it's more of a trial and error, kind of like what you got. So this is my favorite thing. I wanted to show just a little sneak peek because this was going to be our actual chicken house. We got everything almost for free.
That's
Aaron cut these trees down. They were like 15-foot tall trees. And I was making a actual nesting box, and this guy randomly had this. So I decided to put it on top, and it would be the door. So it's the hood of a car, basically. So, I mean, you could find anything on Facebook Marketplace and just use it. I mean, we had a back window we were going to have, and then I literally wanted to just be able to sit in there, just like a chicken mom, and just watch my chickens. It was going to be really cool. So this was like the middle stages, like when we were starting to build. I really do miss it, though. It was turning out really good. He did a really good job. This is the front of the actual coop that we decided to use when we were in the process of building the house. And then I use this as to keep them in. So, and then if you don't have actual like spot where the chickens can roost, we use pallets. So, and then we put it on an angle and then put it on top of that tub right there. I just wanted to show that.
That's a good idea.
Because I know you have your roost.
Yes, and I actually found a ladder that you put on the back of trucks, and I have that leaning at an angle too. But it's like that. You can use so many things just laying around that you would never think of.
So these are my Pekin ducks when they grew up, and then I ended up in I got 2 ducks. It was like a pair. I think they're mallards. So that was pretty cool. We were able to add 2 more. Here's our favorite Pekin duck. He was huge.
He was huge.
But as you see, I decided to transition to hay. It was a lot better. And then
where did you get your hay? Is it just at like Farm and Fleet or?
It was a local place because we lived in Clio, so they had a lot of like local like feed stores. instead of just like Tractor Supply. And so it was like literally in the downtown area, and we just saw it and we were like, oh, that's an awesome price. And so we ended up just getting it from them. I believe Tractor Supply does have them too. I just don't know the price. So, but yeah, trying like a local farmer or a local feed and supply store, those are the best places to get, just the whole bale. Because if you go to the store, they're going to up the price, regular, corporation. So somebody mentioned about the water. So I basically did this situation where I did a kiddie pool and the ducks loved it. One thing I wanted to note is that I found out that if the ducks don't go into the water and they don't want to play in it, then that means it's too dirty. Because I think Julia was asking the question about it.
Yeah.
And maybe having like a backup pool where like there's two of them, and then if they don't like that one, then start cleaning it, because I guess they prefer it to be dirty sometimes, which doesn't make sense to me because us as human beings, we want to make sure that it's clean, so
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah. So what else was I gonna say about that? There's another thing I had noted. Just 1 second. I printed off some stuff.
And I totally got ducks on a whim. I researched nothing when I did it this year, but
Yeah.
it's been working out fine so far. So
Yeah.
see how it goes.
So basically, I would say I agree with your situation with your pond. You're
Yeah.
doing the filtration system. And I like that idea because then you're not having to continually change it as often because it's
Right.
cleaning it out,
Mhm.
Here's my chickens. And then here's the inside. So I liked this one for the chicken feed because it separates it and they don't get as much out and make a mess. And I also ended up using a baking pan or sheet because I just really got lazy, to be honest. I was like, just throw the feed. And also like they love the scraps. So I would use the scraps and put them in the baking sheet, and then they would just all just devour it right there. And then I don't have to worry about adding it to the chicken feeder,
Right.
Okay, that's a double one. Oh, here they are when they're little. And then this is Big Daddy. He was really awesome. Oh, here's the sheeting I was talking about that makes the greenhouse effect.
Okay. Mhm.
And here's all the chickens. Okay, so here's the angle. I tried getting a picture. So we had a giant tarp on top of it. And imagine like there being two huge pieces of trees. Aaron and Matt Powell, who we appreciate so much, helped us build this chicken coop. And it was one of the hardest things we ever did, but it actually worked out to be really amazing. So we made the support, and then there's ventilation in the back, which I'll show you a video. But making sure that the hardware cloth goes down is very important because you don't want any of the predators to get in.
Yes. Weasels.
Yeah.
Rats.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is all. I think that was the last one. Okay. Do you mind if I show the video and then we can
No,
go
go
over the
ahead.
supplies?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's helpful to women to see just how, everyone does have a different start, but there's so many ways you can start. So it's always good seeing just different options and stuff.
Okay, I'm gonna make this bigger. Aaron's talking, my husband's talking in this, and this kind of gives like a show of the coop a little bit. So I'm gonna play it, see if I could play it. So that's the, oops, sorry. That's the coop itself. And we wanted to use those water containers to like get the rain in, but we never ended up building it. So we just sold those. But that's another thing, is to use recycled water is like if you have to pay for water, we do here. That's another way to get the water for the chickens and ducks, is to just reuse the rainwater. It's clean.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
and then here's the inside. This is the last, I think the last video. It hit him in the head as soon as he opened the door.
So how many did you have in here at one time?
I think I had like, I don't remember. So I think I killed three. I had to cull three, and that was
Okay.
including the what's it called? I'm gonna stop sharing for now. Including the so there was one duck we had to put down. And then I think we had to put two roosters. So 22, 5, 6, there was a lot. It was probably 30 in there, I
Okay.
would say.
Yeah, it looked like a lot. Mm-hmm.
But they all loved it. One thing that I learned is that the ducks do not like to be with the chickens because they like to attack. Mating. We'll just say that word.
Yes, I've heard. I'm watching for mine because I do have them cohabitating right now. So
Yeah.
far, nothing. We only have one rooster. But I'm interested to see if I'm gonna have drakes or I'm gonna have girls. So we'll kind of
Are they making a quack or are they doing the soft whisper?
some of them are quacking. Yeah, some of them
So
are.
if they quack, then that's a girl. If they're doing that wah, 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 like that, then that's a boy. It's the opposite. You think that the boy would be
Yeah.
louder, but when I learned that, we called the ducks like our guard dogs. And there would be our neighbor would come over, he'd do his own thing. And if you come 300 yards with the ducks, they're like quacking up a storm.
They do.
And so my ladies, I guess they're the ones who are the guard dogs.
Oh, that's funny. Don't tell men that the lady ducks are louder than the male ducks. They'll have a heyday with that one.
Yeah.
That is so funny. Okay, so when you had your chickens, did you just coop them up at night and then let them free range during the day?
Yeah. So we tried doing that the best we could. We did have a lot of property. So it depends on your own property, to be honest. If you have a fenced in yard, that's good. If you don't, I suggest getting like an electrical fence. That'll keep them in from predators and also keep them in from leaving. Obviously, you'll have some that are kind of flighty, so you just bring them back in. But as long as you have one rooster, it will be the one who like kind of corrals everybody and says, okay, time to come in. And then if you have like an awesome coop, you could have like an automatic opener and closer. Lumina Acres, I want to put a shout out to them because I love them. But he had like an automatic one for his portable one. It was a trailer that he did. And that was pretty cool because in the morning they would just go out and he had like an electric fence and then they would just roam out about free ranging between the electric fence. And he'd only have like a couple that would fly out.
That's really cool. Now, people do not know much about free ranging birds. So let me just throw this out there. It's really awesome if your birds can be free ranging on your own property because what they eat, what goes into their eggs will help with your allergies. If you have some type of allergy to pollen, plants, yes, everything, it's going to help you overcome the allergy just by eating their eggs. So that's a really another cool thing. Since mine have been free ranging more, since it's been warmer in spring, my yolks are already really, really orange again, which is nice. Because I miss that in winter. So
yep. Yeah, it makes a huge difference in what they eat, especially like sadly Tractor Supply has not gotten really good with their feed. So if you could find like a local farmer or even like buy from like an Amish community.
Yes.
For example, I have my quails now and there's a lady who buys her quail feed because they eat game bird feed. They need more protein. She said I could order and get some from an Amish community, I think in Virginia or something. So there's always a way to be able to get organic and better feed than just going to your local Tractor Supply because they're not as good. They're owned by Purina, so they're not as good now.
Yeah, Julia got me some. She thought it was GMO free. It turns out it wasn't. She's like, "Do you still want it?" I'm like, "Yes, it's not really that big of a deal to me. Not as big of a deal as to some." So, but she got me these 50-pound bags from somewhere. I don't even know where you got them, Julia, Wisconsin or something. But they were literally like $13 a bag, and I'm still on them. And she got them for me like weeks ago. So it's really not that expensive. I think one bag is lasting 3 weeks. and that's like $13 for 3 weeks. So when you consider the price of eggs, that's literally all I'm paying. And we have 10 hens and 1 rooster. And some days they lay 10. So some days we're getting 10. Most days it's about 8 or 9 that we're
That's
getting.
really good.
But it's keeping up perfect with our family. Now this summer, when all my other 18 chickens start laying, we are going to have an overflow in eggs. So I'm going to be like the crazy chicken lady with the sign on the end of the driveway selling eggs, because we're going to have an overflow. Everyone in church is going to be like, free eggs from Cassandra. So, but that's fine. Chanello had some questions. Did you see those?
Yeah, I was just looking. Where would be the best location to put a chicken coop? Close to your house or further away? In the corner of the yard or right in the middle? Does location matter? That depends on where you live, because in Michigan, we put it far away from our house because, one, we didn't want the deer or predators coming near our house because they can sense the chickens and ducks. And 2, we put it in front of a tree, but it's best to have it where they can get some shade too. And you want it away also because, I mean, who wants to smell chicken poop and duck poop, you know? So that's why I did it. But it's more of a preference. If you have a garden, it's kind of nice to have the chickens and ducks next to them so you can keep the composting and have them do like a natural garden. I just watched a video about a guy who said they literally, oh, well, it's Al from Lumen Acres. He literally had them go and do his pasture, and they just pecked at it, and he never had to put grass down or anything. They just basically did the whole entire thing because they're pooping as they're walking.
Right.
And so that's another thing, is where do you put your garden in relation to your coop is very good, because then you can free range them next to the garden if you want to have it, you know, good soil and good product, you know, for your harvest.
Yeah, mine's far away just because that's where the barn was. That is a good thought though, about just keeping the predators away. I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, even though we have raccoons that come up to our house too, so they're annoying. But yes, so we kind of went over the equipment and supplies of what you did, and you did it on a budget. Do you have like a rough estimate of what your startup fees were when you started out?
I call them the $1,000 chicken egg, I think.
That's about how much we ended up spending overall, is 1,000.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, now they have like these starter kits. I think they're like $500, and they're like a chicken starter kit basically. And it's just, it has everything you need, you could think of. But a lot of times you don't really need those things. For example, with my quails that I just had, in order for them to get water, I used the top of the jelly jar, you know, the glass jelly jar. So it's not really like you have to buy the top of the mark, you know, best of the best. If you can't afford it, then don't. But if you want to get the best of the best, go ahead. But definitely do your research before you get the chickens and ducks, because that's one thing that I've learned from all of these people on YouTube is, first you get your brooder set up, you know, get your feed, get your chicken water container. If you're doing ducks, they will be messy, so you have to have a grate. You know, there is a guy, Justin Rhodes, which I'll post in the comments after this. He did a really good one where you just basically do 1x1 or 2x2, and you frame it up, and then you put hardwire cloth, and then you put a container underneath to catch all of that, you know, all the pine shavings and all that. So that way it doesn't get into the container. So if you just buy the Tractor Supply one, it'll work great because there's no shavings going in it, you know.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I would say just to start out initially, it was 500 because we spent 350 on the coop. But if you have materials laying around, if you have wood laying around, if you can whip something up, if you have a doghouse laying around, you know, you can do that. For my brooder this time, the only thing Julia actually showed me, I used, and I don't have pictures of it. I know there's somewhere. If you follow me on Facebook, you've seen it because I post stories on my stories and stuff a lot. We used an old pack and play, and then it was, and then we had the heat lamp in it, and a heating, what is it? What is the thing? A heating tray?
Heat lamp?
Yeah, not the lamp.
Oh, the heat plate.
Heat plate. Those are actually safer, but I didn't
Yes.
have one. And I already had the heat lamp. So I just went ahead and used those and it worked fine. But no, it worked great until they got all their feathers in. And I just moved them out last week to the barn. So it worked as a great, they were outgrowing it though. They were starting to fly out of it and stuff. So, but I like the tub that you started yours out in.
Yeah, it's a Sterilite tub. I believe it's 60 gallons, and I got it from Walmart. And Justin Rhodes, the YouTuber, I just watched a video and he said, if you want to make sure you have a lid, because, as birds grow, they want to fly.
Yeah.
And so you basically get a drill and drill holes at the top about an inch below the top part of the tub. And then you can have it breathe, and then just put the Sterilite lid right on top if they don't need heat. And then you don't need to have heat if they're starting to get like dispersed and they're starting to get bigger, and then they're starting to get their feathers in. I would say like 4 weeks is like the max. You don't need it anymore after that, because then they start growing to the point where they can contain their heat. Because that's the thing, is the heat just releases real quickly and they're real fragile, and they're trying to maintain their heat just like a baby. A baby needs to be with their mom at all times, a human being, not a chick. So that's why they need to have the heat, is because they lose all of that heat from being born. And then also, like, they don't have their feathers to keep all of their heat trapped in, because they're just this fluffy little chick or fluffy little duck,
Right. Yes. Julia said, don't do what I did. I couldn't get my duck enclosure done before they were ready to go outside, and she lost 4 out of the 5.
Yes. Yeah. You want to make sure you get your coop and your brooder done. As long as you get your brooder done, that's okay, because you have like a couple weeks.
Right.
It's like right now Aaron's trying to build my hutch for my quails, and we're past time, but at least they're smaller. Because I do want to mention that chickens and ducks require 4 square feet per duck. That's like the technical. You can do like maybe 3 square feet per duck or chicken, but you just want to make sure they have enough space, just to be able to roam around and to breathe, because they need all of that move around space. So you don't want to have it too compact.
Right. Exactly. So let's talk about the different breeds. I saw that you had the different eggs up there. You can go ahead and pull those up. And I had no idea. And now that I'm getting into this, I want all the colors of the rainbow. So I went this year with olive eggers, Easter eggers, and starlight breeds, because they all do the different color of eggs. So all of my eggs coming up this year will be all different colors.
Can you see them?
Yes.
So I think I had Barred Rock, and not you had Easter egger, so this is your Easter egger.
I just got Easter eggers this year.
Yeah. So this is the color that yours will be. And then I think I have one more picture.
Aren't they beautiful? Look at those. They're so beautiful. I love them. Okay, Amanda, there's the silky egg. Okay, she keeps yelling about the mini chickens. We have to talk about
the little ones.
Yes, the silky eggs.
Oh, and one note is, when you do get your first egg, you can get what they call a fairy egg, which is just basically a small egg like the silky one. It's just because they're just learning how to lay eggs. And sometimes you might get them in the middle when they're like 2 years old. So it just comes and goes. And you might get a double yolk, which is pretty cool. We got that a couple times.
I've never gotten a double yolker yet. But it looks like I must have Barred Rock brands. That's a Barred Rock brand. I must have Barred Rock breed, because it that egg looked exactly like it.
Yeah, you probably do. Yeah, because I told you it was either a Wyandotte or a Barred Rock, because it looked very similar to mine.
Yes, I think it was. And then I have the ones, I don't know which ones they are, but they have the feathers on their feet.
Oh, I forgot the name of them.
They're white and they have the feathers on their feet. I told you, I knew nothing about breeds. I literally told the guy to just take them out of the thing and stick them in a box. I was very picky this year. I got starlight eggers, which have the greenish bluish eggs. I got Easter eggers, a couple different kinds of Easter eggers. So
Brahma? Is it Brahma?
It might be Brahma.
Yeah, those are one of the breeds. Or Bantam. Those are a lot of times, like right now they're at Tractor Supply. And then there's the Frizzle. There's so many different
I know
breeds.
there's so many different breeds. And that's the other thing too, is that every breed, you kind of want to look it up if you have kids, because some are more docile than others.
Yeah.
And let's talk about roosters, because a lot of people, if I'm telling you, our roosters, he's getting a little spunky. If he keeps up, he's gonna be chicken soup. So he better watch it, because Frederick's a little feisty. We have to tell him to back off and show him who's boss a lot.
Yeah, I have a story to tell you. So, we had 4 roosters, and we ended up having to cull one of them because he just kept attacking. And I just watched a video of Aaron going, "Which one shall I choose? I'm gonna get the big one for dinner."
Oh, that's funny.
And so we ended up, we figured out how to get the feathers off, and we cooked it, but it was way too gamey and just way too
Yeah.
dry. There's certain way you have to prepare it, and we didn't do it the right way. But basically there is a game that you play with the rooster, and if they start pecking at your like ankles and stuff, you just basically show yourself big just like them.
Mhm.
And if they start attacking you, Aaron would literally smack the rooster
Mhm.
and like show him who's boss.
You
So
have
you
to.
really have to. You have
Yeah.
to be the dominant one to be like, I'm the boss, not you. And if he's not going to be nice to those hens, it's not worth it.
No, it's not. And that's the other thing, is that you have to, the first time I got them, I just did straight run. When you do straight run, you don't know. See, this might be like Greek to a lot of you. It was to me. You don't know what you're getting. You don't know if you're getting roosters or hens. If you get pullets, that's when you know that it's better chance that they're supposed to.
Yes.
Some can
Yep.
still end up being roosters, but better chance
Yep.
that they're supposed to be hens. So I got 10, and thankfully I only had one rooster, because otherwise, but he does do a good job of keeping an eye on the ladies. He is very protective over them, but sometimes that comes down to him fluffing up, and he likes to go after Lana. Lana's the one. So Lana, I hope you're listening, because I keep telling her, you've got to show him who's boss. And then even Wilma first was telling me about, they have chickens too. And if her rooster starts doing that, she grabs him by his feet, and she has a spray bottle, and she'll spray it. She'll hold him upside down and spray him with the spray bottle to show him who's boss. Because there is, and I did not know this until I got checking, all these things like hen packed and pecking order, they all make sense after you get chickens. There's a pecking order too. So, and you can explain a little bit about that too, with the pecking order.
So it's like survival of the fittest, basically. And so whoever, gets attacked the most is the one who's the weakest link. And I actually had a hen who got attacked, and you asked about what you should do if, somebody's aggressive. Well, unfortunately, you have to take the one who's injured out so that way they can heal. And so we put our hen inside our house in our dog cage because she had an injury on the back of her head. And I think one of the roosters got her when they were trying to mate.
Right.
And so you just let them heal, do ivermectin or whatever, type of solution to get them to heal, and then bring them back in, but slowly, bring them back in, because you don't want them to get injured more.
Right. And even when you're introducing new chickens to the flock, the already established flock, there's already an established pecking order. And I know which rooster or which hens are higher in the pecking order, because the highest roost, Frederick, sleeps on at night. And the ones that are like the princesses or queens or whatever, one of them is Punk Snow White, which is funny because that's Punk Snow White is her name. But she's up there with them. And then a couple other, and then the lower ones are lower on the rung. So there is an established order. You've got the very aggressive ones down to the meeker ones.
Yeah, they have their special spots, and you can't. That's like when you go to church. You ever see people who go to their certain pews? That's me. I do my same pew, and so that's for the hens. It's like, the top one, she gets that spot. She's the one who's the, big mama, I call her.
Right. Big mama. That's hilarious. No, it is funny though, just seeing the differences in animals, even with human beings, because it's like there's a pecking order, and then there's like, Frederick, he's the man, and he's the dominant one out of all of them. He's the big daddy. And then you've got like others that kind of fall in the line. So if you don't introduce new chickens very carefully, they can peck them to death. basically, which would be a horrible
Yep.
way to go.
Yep. I
Horrible.
wanted to tell you about the ducks because you told me to talk about ducks. We've been focusing mostly on chickens. I
Mhm.
want to mention that ducks need water at all times. They need it to be able to swallow their feed. So
Right.
if they don't have water, they will choke on the feed.
Mm.
And you can also ferment. I saw you ferment your feed.
Yes, I
You can
I
do
fermented
that.
a bit. Mhm.
It helps them to be able to eat it easier. And then also you're not wasting as much.
Right.
It lowers the amount of waste because as you know, when you're feeding a chicken or a duck, they'll go and just make a mess. I mean, right
Yes.
now my quails are making a mess like crazy. So what I did was you got to make like a tray or something higher, you know. And so for now, I actually took one of those cardboard lids to the egg
Mhm.
container and I propped it up and then I put the water container on top. So it keeps it off the pine shavings.
Right. Yes. No, they got to be so stinky in my house, the ducks. They were just disgusting. Abigail's like, Mom, please get rid of these ducks. They smell so bad. And I did, but even in their little corner that they stay in the coop, I was like cleaning it out the other day and I was gagging. It smelled so bad because they get their feed wet and then feed really smells gross. Someone asked about KJV, Beth asked about problems with the store-bought feed. I did not notice any problems. My hens were new layers though, and there was never a slowdown for eggs. So I didn't have any. I'd heard that was a conspiracy going around right
Yeah.
around the egg rise. The egg prices were rising, but I never did. Mine was Walmart feed that I did until I got the feed from Julia, and I didn't notice a difference with either. So, and then go ahead and Julia asked about the broody hen.
Oh, it says, how do you get a broody hen to stop being broody when you cut off on new chicks? Well, you just got to be dominant. I mean,
Mhm.
one thing is make sure you wear gloves when you're dealing with that broody hen because they'll
Yes.
peck at your hand.
Yeah.
And so if you want to get those eggs out of there that she's holding, you know, just catch her when she's looking away from you. Don't do it when you're in front of her. So catch her from behind if you can, and then just grab those eggs and run. But I
Yeah.
mean, I never really had to deal with that. I wanted to because it would have been cool to have babies, you know, just chicks coming out. I used a drawer on the ground, and then I had a dresser for them to have their nesting boxes. So,
Okay.
but I never actually had any brooding issues, unfortunately. But I believe that, you know, if you're having an issue, you just got to be in charge and show them who's boss because, you know, the only way you could stop it is by her not laying on them.
Yeah, I haven't had one. I don't think mine are old enough. I haven't had one go broody yet. But let's talk a little bit about incubation because I'm a failure when it comes to
Mhm.
incubation. I don't know if my incubator stinks. I've tried two different times. They develop till about day 10 or 11 and then they die. So I try to keep the humidity correct. It's a balancing game. I told Julia if I ever try again, I'm just going to use hers. Hers is a little bit more expensive than mine was. So it's got
Yeah,
a few more bells and whistles. So
yeah. So, definitely making sure that you have the humidity. So there's like a probe that is in the better version ones. And I learned this from my last incubation with the quails is that you got to make sure the humidity level stays at a constant. So if it goes down, you got to bring it back up as soon as you notice it. If you lose any temperature, I believe I did 98 degrees Celsius, but it's like 100, 101, 101.5. So you got to keep the temperature at the same rate. How many times do you think you opened your incubator during the first couple weeks?
I would say I only opened it to put more water in. And when I
Okay,
saw the
that's good.
humidity going down. So maybe every 2 days was about what it took to put more water in the water tray. I kept
Okay.
the humidity at I tried about 60. And then I tried to keep according to the incubator rule or guidelines, it said 99.5 was like the magic temp. So I tried to keep it on 99.5 almost the entire time. And I candled them at two different occasions and there was movement in life and you could see it moving around. But then just once it got to that certain time, it just stopped. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Did
So,
any of them have like a smell or anything? Because that's
no,
another thing is if you have a spoiled egg, it can ruin all of the other ones.
no, I never had a spoiled egg. And I was afraid of that because even after the 21 days, ones that I thought might have had life, I didn't see the blood ring. Some I just knew because I saw the ring of death when I
Yeah.
candled them. But even the ones I broke outside because I was afraid of this, and none of those even smelled. So yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't have any
Yeah,
spoiled eggs.
so it could be just the machine is not reading. That's why you have to get like an extra like humidity probe on top of the one that's in the machine.
I'm wondering. Yeah,
Because it might not be reading properly. And
right,
so you might be thinking, oh, it is the right humidity level, but humidity is very important for the shell development, and like inside. Like we were
right,
talking about how like it goes away from it. And then if you don't have the humidity, it's kind of like they're vacuum sealed inside and then they
right.
can't get out.
Mhm.
So it could be that you thought it was the reading and maybe it's just it was a faulty machine.
Right.
And you know,
Oh, Amanda, I have a story about this new chicken owner. So Julia, when she had chickens last year, she was telling me about they had a fly strike. And I was like gagging, and I'm like, I don't know if I want chickens because of this. This is grossing me out. But now I would know I would have to deal with it. Well, egg bound is another fear of a lot of, and that's where an egg gets stuck, basically. And they have two different like vents. Like it doesn't come out where they defecate. You know, the egg doesn't come out of that. It kind of shuts off, and then the egg comes out. But when they get egg bound, the egg is basically stuck, and you have to actually help them get it out.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what
Use
happened?
gloves.
Yes, what happened with us was that we, at the time, that green cabinet that I had shown in the pictures, there was a little space behind it, and it's since blocked off now with like wood and blocks so that none of them can fall back there. But one fell back there on her back, and she was there for quite a while, and she tried laying an egg while she was on her back, and she got egg bound. So I actually had to act like a veterinarian. I did some research, I watched some videos, and I went and got gloves, and I had to help her get the egg out. It was broken, it was all coming out. And so I did. I helped her. A lot of times I did not know this at the time. You can do an Epsom salt bath, let them sit in it for
Yeah.
a long time.
Yes.
That'll help
Yep. That was just
tremendously.
gonna tell you. Yeah.
Yes, I did not do that. I did not know that at the time. I just put a bunch of ointment on her. She ended up healing, and which I'm shocked because I literally did not know that much about it and what to do. But I did the right thing because I watched a couple YouTube videos. YouTube's amazing. And I was able to help her out, and she did survive. But did you ever have any instances like that?
No, I actually just watched a video today of one of my hens laying, and I got to watch it laying an egg like when I was in Michigan.
That's really
It
cool.
made me think about it, like, you know, how it just comes out. And everybody always says, ouch, like that
I
hurts. If
know.
it's a double yolk, like I had a couple double yolks and I was like, how did they get that out of there?
I know it does seem, and it's so funny too, because chickens, they make very distinct sounds for what's going on. And they'll start going wah, wah, wah,
It's
wah,
their
when they
chicken
get,
song, I call it.
yes, when they get closer to lay. We know that they're gonna lay because they start walking around next to the coop doing that. Wah, wah, wah. So we're always like, are they in pain? We always wonder, like, are they in pain before they lay an egg? Like, why do they make those sounds?
Yeah, and then with the ducks, they stay on the ground. I forgot to say they don't roost or anything because they only got, you know, these flat feet. And so when we found our eggs, they were always on the ground, just random spots. But they're bigger and white, and they're really good. Aaron said he loved them, like they're
Mhm.
delicious. But yeah, it's not the same having duck eggs compared to chickens, like in the aspect of like I guess the taste. So.
I've heard, I haven't tried. I'm hoping to get some duck eggs, but I've heard they're a lot more rich. I think Jen Bay told
Yeah.
me that. Very
Yeah,
rich.
that's what Aaron said. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
richer. That's the word. Yep, that's the
Yep.
perfect word for it.
Very, very rich and like, what is the word for it?
Decadent?
Yes, I'm looking for that word. Yes, it's just very,
Yeah.
very rich. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, they can survive, Amanda, but you have to catch it in time. So, so Chinello, you know that eggs are fertilized. You put them all in there, and after, what is it, day 7, Jenny? You candle them?
It's like 6 or 7. It depends on which kind of egg you're doing because they all have a different process. Chickens versus ducks versus quails. So you just got to look it up, but they'll have like veins that you can
Yes.
see. I used my cell phone and I just flipped it upside down and used a flashlight, or you can get an actual candling light that is meant for candling. And when you start seeing those veins and the movement, and if you see all green, that means they're not fertilized. So
Mhm.
just throw them away. But I always give it a shot. I try. And then by 6 or 7, then I throw it out.
Yeah. And then you will also see a lot of mine. It has the called ring of death. If it started
Yeah.
developing, you'll actually can see the ring around inside the egg. I
Yeah.
just have a flashlight that's it's cupped just like a candler. So the flashlight worked really well, but it is so cool. I wish I could get one to hatch. It's really cool. At 7 days, you can see,
Their
there's a
heartbeat.
10. Yeah, you can see the black spot in there
Oh, have you
in their
ever
eyes.
seen in order to know if they are alive as well, if there's a point at which you're kind of unsure, you put it in the water and they will literally shake. That's the
Ah,
heartbeat. So their
that's
egg
cool.
will shake. Yeah, I was supposed to do it with my quail eggs, but then I forgot. So I just was like, well, they're dead. So what can I do? You know. But yeah, the heartbeat will literally vibrate in the water, causing you to know if they're alive or not. And if it sinks and it's done, it's dead. So
That's
that's
really cool.
another way to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things that you can do for sure. I mean, we could literally like go on and on and on about this. I have to cut it off pretty quick in the next few minutes. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you have questions, put them down. So, Jenny can answer them. I can answer them. Julia can answer them. A lot of us, she has chickens now too. But I will say one of the best resources for me has been, this is where I like Facebook, has been all the Facebook groups I'm in.
Mhm.
It's helped a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to see what groups I put down. There is the everything backyard chicken,
I'm in that one.
duck,
Yep.
ducks and chicken keeping 101,
Not in that one.
pet ducks 101. And then my newest favorite is Gan Farm Raised, which I'll put in the comments later. His name is Nick, and I think he's in Arkansas. And he is one who is actually like more into making money. He sells chickens and meat birds, and but he has a lot of like informational things like how to keep your animals in, how to do electric fence, where to buy your feed, how to calculate your cost if you're selling eggs. So that's really cool. And then Justin Rhodes, he's a good YouTuber. I like Lumina Acres, obviously. Al is my favorite. I literally watched almost every week. I watched so many videos of him and his wife and his daughter. He's just an amazing guy. He shows you everything. And he has videos that are like 6 years old that I just watched, which I will probably, if it's okay, I'll link them in the comments too. So then that way people can know. And if you can't free range, I forgot to say this, if you can't free range, take your grass shavings. Okay, every time you let's say you mow the lawn and you get fresh grass, put them in a freezer bag and freeze them and then give them during winter. So then they'll still be eating grass.
Oh, that's a good idea. I never even
Yeah, I
thought
did
about
that.
that. Oh,
Yep. And
that's a
if you
good idea.
can't free range them, just mow the lawn and then just give them the chicken, give the chicken or ducks or whatever, the grass that you have, and just collect it and put it in their feed.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and they do need a dust bath. That's one thing I
Yes.
forgot to say.
Yes. If
They
they're not
love
free
dust
ranging.
baths.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
need something to get all the mites and all the parasites and everything off of them.
And there are things that you can, I mean, if you end up, you're going to have lice sometimes. I haven't, because I use diatomaceous earth. That's another thing.
Yes.
Diatomaceous earth.
Yep. And
Is,
put it in their dust bath too.
yes. Put it in the dust bath. You can put it in their coop. You can put it in their feed. That will
Yeah, if
take
it gets
care.
stinky.
Yes. Parasites, everything. It keeps the critters down. It keeps the critters out. But since my free range, I love watching them. They love dirt. They love dirt baths. So.
Miss Southern Belle, she asked, so just regular room temp water Is she asking for either one or just
I
chickens?
think that's for the when you let the eggs float. Just
Oh, yeah,
chicken.
I think I just would say just use regular like lukewarm water. You don't want it to be too cold because obviously they're not, just do it fast. I
Right.
can figure out the video and post it in the Gently Lads group because I think she's in that group. So
Yes, she is. No, and they all want you to leave all the links down below in the comments for like
yeah,
the feeder. I know Julia wants feeder. I want the feeder. I'm gonna order that feeder.
which one? The multi one
duck.
where it's got the
Yes.
spacers? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna order the waterer. I'm gonna order the duck waterer. So for
Yeah,
my
the galvanized one is nice because it's not all gross and it keeps the water cold too. And if you have wintertime, I forgot to say, if you have a wintertime, there are things you could stick in the galvanized one to keep the water warm. Just
Okay.
like a horse, you know how horses have the water?
Yeah.
You could put that in there. It's at Tractor Supply. I forgot the name. So if you want that, I can pass that along to you too. Because you
Okay.
always have frigid temperatures.
Yeah, we do. And my ducks did survive, or my chickens did survive. I did have one casualty as far as frostbite. One chicken got it really bad and her toes have just fallen off on one foot. So
That's so sad. Chanello asked, can you free range without a fenced yard? And yes, that's what I was saying. Get an electric fence. That's what I was saying. Nick is really good at explaining how to make sure you have it properly placed. So that way you don't let them, roam around and get, all over or go to your neighbor's
yeah, because
yard.
that's the thing, because we have 3 acres and it's like a long strip and they do go into the neighbor's yard at times. But we have a pretty good relationship with our neighbors and we give our neighbors free eggs. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that is a way they won't mind seeing the chickens
Yeah.
over their yard sometimes, because they always go back to their coop at night, which is really cool about animals.
Yeah, if you get them into a routine, they'll do it.
Yep. Chickens are very much creatures of habit. They recognize
Yeah.
people. They do the same things all the time. If they start laying eggs in out of a nesting box in a different area, they'll
Yeah.
continue to lay in there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I just found a stash. They had been laying them in the green cabinet, and I found a stash of like 14 or 15 eggs. I didn't know how long
Oh wow.
there. It was all in this corner of the cabinet. So you always gotta look for things like that too that's going on.
You can always feed them back to the chickens too.
Yeah. And chickens, you can feed them their own shells. You can feed them scraps to cut down.
You gotta bake the shells though. Make sure you bake the shells and then pulverize them in like a food processor. And Janello asked about how, because she doesn't have a fence and yard. You can clip their wings. There's a spot at which you can clip their wings to make them so they're not flighty.
Right. Yep. And yeah, it depends on, we've never had a hawk take away my little ones. I haven't let my little ones free range yet. I think they're only 6 or 7 weekers. I haven't let them free range quite yet. They're still in the coop, but eventually I will. And I'm hoping just being with the other bigger chickens will kind of keep them safer. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. Yeah, Amanda, there's so much that I've learned about chickens just even since doing it. And it's really cool watching them, learning about them. My husband calls them little nuisances sometimes, because anytime he does yard work, they're right there. Like he'll be doing yard work and they're curious. They're right there watching you. And he likes them though. He's not an animal person, but he really does like our chickens.
You'll love it when the ducks go in a row, because you can always say my ducks are in a row. Like they'll follow you in a straight line.
My ducks are in a row. See, I have proof. That's super cute. No, I feel like I could go on about this for another hour, but ladies, if you have any questions, definitely leave them. I think we covered a lot of the basics, or just, what you need to do to start, when you're doing it. So it's basically just shelter, food, water, all that stuff.
Dust bath.
Yep. And dust bath. And then, there's lots of tips, but definitely join the Facebook groups, because that will help a lot. And Amanda is obsessed with the mini chicken, because one of her friends has a mini chicken that lives in the house and wears chicken diapers.
And there's a duck one too. There's a duck diaper.
Is there really? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Those people really, really like I'm not to that love yet. I don't have a house chicken.
No.
That is so funny. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining. Jenny, thank you so much for coming on with me.
Thank you for having me. I hope you guys learned a lot. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the group because I know that there are some things that we kind of forgot. And I will definitely add them in the Facebook group as well as in the comments. It might take me a while to put it on YouTube because I have to copy and paste. But what I'll probably do is make a whole post with links for everything and kind of outline what we went over, if that's okay.
No, that'd be perfect. That'd be great. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. So hang on here, Jenny, and we will go ahead. I'll say goodbye. I wanted to tell you ladies, next week I'll probably be solo, but the week after I am having another guest on. I've been trying to do it every couple weeks. Her name is Hope Reeves, and she is, I think in her early 30s, and she's single. She's a pastor's daughter, but she's very involved in the ministries of her church and the bus route and everything. And we're having her on just talking about contentment in your single life, finding contentment as a single woman. So I'm really excited about that in 2 weeks. But thank you for coming today. And definitely we've got the chat going, but definitely leave all, comments, questions in the comments down below. It helps with the algorithm too, to push it out, like it, share it if you know anyone that likes ducks or chickens or anything. So, all right, Jenny, well, thank you. And ladies, we'll see you. We'll see you next week.